Okay, I just finished the game like 2 minutes ago, and this is now how I will process my experience. Hi, my name is Gracie, and this is what happens when you fall into a pit?
The pit. Ooh, I fell into the pit.
I have so many thoughts, and I don't know how to straighten them out. So let's just start with, do I think you should play this game? Yeah, I do. I had a great time. Do I think it's better than the OG Life is Strange? No, and I don't, but it's a lot better than Double Exposure, and it understood the assignment and didn't fall apart in the second half like some other games I could mention. Lost Records Bloom and Rage is a narrative adventure game centered around the main character, a 16-year-old girl named Swan. Swan meets a punk named Nora, a skateboarder named Autumn, and a rebel named Kat, and together they all become best friends in the summer of 1995. Autumn, Swan, Nora, and Kat all discover a magical hole in the earth that they call the Abyss. 27 years later, a magical, mysterious box appears, and all of the girls have to gather together to solve the mystery of what happened that summer. What did I like about this game? The characters, I don't think they're like exactly people you'd meet like in real life. They're characters for sure, but there were moments where you see depth. I wanted to know more about every single character. I wanted to see them in more situations and know them more deeply. I felt like there was more to them than what we saw, and that is good character writing. For example, Nora acts like this fearless badass, but when she's faced with scary situations, she hides and cowers in the back. And Swan has a strained relationship with her parents that's just never really explored. I think that that's good. I think that it's good that not everything needs to be explained with just a perfect, nice, tidy bow. Sometimes things are just things, and the game doesn't need to lay out every single theme and every single plot point. And I think that they balance those things well. Something that I hate in just media in general, like books, TV shows, like anything, is when characters stop existing when we, the viewer or the reader, isn't reading. This game doesn't do that. This game makes it feel like these characters lived a life before we enter their story, and they're gonna live a life after we leave them. I also loved the set design and art pieces. Like, oh, this game is pretty. There was clearly a lot of attention put into character design. Like, there's a bartender named Gus, and he is so lovingly designed and rendered and characterized. And even Corey, who's like the main bad guy, has heterochromatic eyes, and that is such a nice little decision that I don't know how you even come to that idea, but it was such a nice little touch. The characters also feel 16. Like, wow, they are children. They do not act like adults who are just 16, or they don't act like adult children who are being written by adults. Like, they act like teenagers. Like, sometimes they act maybe even a little younger than 16, but whatever. I look back at my 16-year-old self and I thought I was very mature. And so I'm sure I did not act like a mature adult in any sense of the way. I don't know if they captured the small town feel as well as Life is Strange True Colors, but I feel like they captured what it's like to be in the woods as a kid. They captured the youthful desire to explore and to express oneself. To compare this game again to Double Exposure, at least my choices freaking mattered. Like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, true story. I watch my videos because I think I'm funny. And so I watch my Double Exposure videos sometimes, and the actual emotional breakdown that I have over that game makes me laugh every single time. The illusion of choice is important, and there were moments in this game where the dialogue challenges were compelling, and I was watching the time tick down, and I just didn't know what the right thing to say was, and then I would pick something, and it was like, yes, that was the outcome that I wanted, like, yes, I convinced them to do this, or I made them walk away, or I made them not kiss. Like, oh my gosh, it was such a good moment. I was over the moon. I like to avoid spoilers until a little further in the video, so I'm not going to get into the specifics of what I'm talking about yet. But there were moments in this game where I was like, you absolutely crushed that! Like, I felt so good. Guys, I was going to dress up for this video, and that did not happen. And I do feel kind of bad about it because I do enjoy like my little closet cosplays that I do, but it just wasn't gonna happen. What did I not like about this game? That's a great question. I wish they did more with Autumn's character. I felt like every single other person, not even I felt like every single other character, we got to see a little bit of their home life and family dynamic. We didn't get to see any of that with Autumn, and I wanted to see that. She is the most mentally stable of all of the characters, which says a lot. But I wish there was more to Autumn. There is exactly one moment where Autumn does something that I didn't expect, and it's when, spoilers, she pushes Corey into the pit.
You fell in the pit.
I do not know what decisions I made to make that happen. Like I'm sitting there and I'm like beat on Corey, and then it cuts to Autumn and she's like, I'm being possessed in this moment, and I must. And she runs over and she pushes him in, and I was like of all of the people who I thought could push Corey into the pit, that was the last person that I expected. Also, when you see the global stats at the end of tape 2, I was astonished at the number of ways they like choreographed, I don't know, like animated the scene in which Corey can fall into this pit. Like, I think there's 8 or 9 different ways that your choices can affect this outcome. I also felt like the pacing of tape 1 was a little off. Like, it might have been even an hour longer than it needed to be. I felt like it just kept going. And there were ways as a player that I could have pushed the story along a little faster, but that also meant that I would experience less overall game, and I wasn't going to do that. I think the secret box, like the big mystery of the game, should have been introduced later or opened earlier. For example, Autumn brings that box out like what, like hour 2, like hour 1.5? Like, I just wish, I just wanted the option to open it. Like, what, it sits in the corner of your screen for like 3 hours and you don't even acknowledge it the whole time. Like, it's just there and you can look at it and you can pick it up and you can spin it around, but there's no option to even open it. And that really annoyed me because it's not like you can get into it. Like, there's a lock, there's a lock on the lockbox in the box. And so it's not like you couldn't even like get spoilers. It would have been cool if there was a few scenes where you can like either see the characters trying to fiddle with the lock and then they have a comment where it's like, you couldn't figure it out either, you know, like, and or like Kat in the background of some scenes. Oh, spoilers, by the way. She is like, you see her like picking up items and putting them into her overalls. Like, you have to pay attention to see it. Like, obviously the game's not going to be like, Kat's picking up objects and putting them in her overalls. It's like in the background of a scene where you're talking to Autumn, you can see Kat like pick something up and she inspects it and then she puts it in her pocket, and later you see that in the box. There is one interaction in which you see the box in the past. Technically, they call it eon. So in the eon in which they are kids, you get to see the box at one time. And I think this was put in like retroactively just to make the box make more sense. But I think that there were other ways that they could have made the box make more sense. I hope this made sense out loud. I think the reason that they like kept the box in the corner for so long is because they wanted us to feel a sense of fear and a sense of anticipation in opening it. I wasn't anticipatory. I wasn't frightful. It's a box in the corner. It wasn't going to hurt me. But you know what? This game does have some horror elements. It's definitely not like a horror game. It's not like you're running around from some evil figure or seeing like jump scares. Like, but there is one scene in which it gets scary. And I was shaking in my boots. I was so scared. But the truth of the matter is, I feel like they could have leaned further into the horror. I didn't want, jump scares because I would be shaking in my boots. But I feel like there were opportunities to feel scared that the game shied away from. The one scene in which it's truly scary is you're playing as Swan and she's like using her camera which I feel like you hold it like this. You're using your camera and you're like scanning around and you're using, like talking about it's like making me scared. Like I got like chills. so you're using your camera to like look around and find all these clues. And I was wasting no time. I was running around that cabin like trying to find all this stuff, and I was really scared. And at one point, you go up into the attic, and I was like, I don't want to go into the attic. I was like, I think you spawn in the attic, and you spawn like looking down, and you have to like look up. And I was like, I don't want to look up. I don't want to look up. However, this game starts with a first person scene in which Swan is like running and she falls and she drops her flashlight and she's gotta like Velma look for it in the dark. That scene, when it finally happened, I thought it was going to be more substantial. I can handle one type of like fear in video games, and it's the fear that's like you need to move, like you have a sense of urgency, like go. Like my the one thing I think of is like in games when there's a giant monster chasing you and you can hear it like destroying obstacles behind you and crashing things and it's like going crazy and you as a player are like ah! like you're like trying to make your character move as physically as fast as possible. But when the scene actually happens and Swan falls and like Velma looks for her flashlight in the darkness, I wasn't scared. My only thought was, oh, hey, this is the scene from the beginning of the game. I thought it would have been more scary. Then at one point, like right after you Velma look for your flashlight in the dark, she and all the girls get like corralled into this big circular area. And I knew the game wanted to make me feel afraid, but I didn't feel afraid. My thoughts were, wait, am I supposed to walk this way? No, I think I'm supposed to walk this way. Wait, am I supposed to be standing still right now? Wait, I'm confused. It wasn't fear, it was like confusion over game mechanic, I guess. It was like, am I like doing what the game wants me to be doing right now? In the same scene where you're being chased and I cannot make this joke again, but when Velma drops her flashlight and tries to look for it in the dark, there's a millisecond in which I was actually afraid. And it's at the very beginning of the chase scene. And if you make some decisions, Swan ends up losing her camera and the bad guy Corey ends up with it. And Corey has there's like one, seriously, it lasts like 10 seconds max, this scene. And you're looking through the camera, but the camera is not being held by Swan. It's being held by Corey. And you see Swan running. And I remember being like, go! Like, that feeling of fear and that feeling of, I need to move. I am being chased. And it didn't continue into the rest of the chase. Like Corey's recording and you see Swan and Swan turns the corner and then it just cuts back to the normal POV. And I was like, oh, that was boring. Like I wanted more of that. Speaking of perspective, I was kind of disappointed that this whole game wasn't in first person. When the game starts, everything is crafted in such rich detail. Like when you move the syrup bottle, the syrup spills around. Like it was so wonderful. And then you go back in time to a different eon and it's in third person again. I understood why they needed to put the game in third person because you do need to see Swan's face and like see her reaction to things. And I didn't feel annoyed by it, but I was still like, man, it would have been cool if this game was in first person. That did remind me of something that I loved about this game, but I just couldn't really speak about it without getting into spoilers. I love how dialogue choices are conveyed in this game. A pair of choices would appear, but if you waited and you listened long enough, sometimes a third choice would appear or a fourth choice would appear. I didn't love how sometimes you had to like move the camera to be looking at what you want to speak about, because there were times where I would be looking around and being like, oh, okay, well, I've seen all the things you can look at. I don't remember where the ketchup bottle was to say the thing I want to say. So I'm frantically looking around the screen, trying to find where the ketchup bottle was so I can pick that dialogue choice and use it. I mean, other than that, it's a cool concept. Like, you're first person, so I think it's a good way to use the camera. But I wish, this is such a nitpick, I wished that you didn't, like, after you saw the object, you didn't have to look at it again to say it. Because I seriously, like, I remember this one scene with Nora, and you're sitting outside, and 3 of these dialogue options show up. So you have to look at 3 things and be like, okay, these are my options. And then I remember being like, I cannot find where the first option was. I'm being like scanning the entire screen while the clock is timing down. And I think I ended up picking like the second best option because I couldn't remember where I found the first option. Speaking of best options, there was something that I didn't love at the beginning of the game that I deeply understood by the end of the game. Sometimes when you make a dialogue choice, a little heart will appear and it'll be like, yay, they liked what you said. But sometimes when you say a dialogue choice, a little broken heart would appear and it'd be like, they did not like what you said. I, when I play games like this, I like to make the decision that I feel like the character would make. Like I'm playing as Geralt and I'm like, I feel like this is what Geralt would say. So that's the option that I pick. But Swan is a people pleaser. And so it makes sense that she wouldn't pick the option that she would pick. She would pick the option that she thinks other people would want her to say. And you know who's also a people pleaser? Me! And so I was trying to pick all the options that would like make the little hearts. But sometimes that wouldn't work out and I'd get a little broken heart. And I'd be like, and I just wanted all the girlies to like me. Have I talked about everything? Oh, I have not. I have for sure not. Because I have not talked about the romantic subplot. So, I played Tape 1 twice because the first time I played it, I didn't romance anyone. I didn't do that because, once again, they really felt like children. And not just children. They were like all mentally ill children. And sometimes when I romance someone in a game, it's not like Geralt romancing someone. It's like me romancing someone. And so it felt a little awkward. I replayed Tape 1 though because I felt like if I didn't romance someone, I would be missing out on something. So I romanced Kat, and this is why. I romanced Kat in my second playthrough of Tape 1 because I knew she was dying. You know in movies when they show the dead wife and she looks gorgeous and she is laughing and the light always hits her just right. There was a moment in the woods where I was looking at Kat and the light hit her just right, and I knew she was going to be Swan's dead wife. I would now like to talk about the plot of this game because I realized I haven't even done that yet. The magic stuff is not like extremely well defined. Like it's very undefined. There's a pit in the ground, but it's kind of a malevolent pit, but it's also kind of a benevolent pit, but it's also kind of an indifferent pit. And Autumn is scared of the pit, but Kat is enticed by the pit. And I just don't understand why the pit affected them differently, personally. Also, at the end of the game, Kat just like gets disappeared. Like you're holding hands and you're like, I love you guys. And she's like, how does Kat sound? The pit. Oh, I feel like she needs to be like deeper, but also raspy. I don't know if I have this voice in me. She's like, the pit needs us to forget. It'll protect us, but we must forget it. And I was like, sure. Yeah, sure. Whatever. I mean, whatever. And then we all hold hands and we're like, we all promise to forget. And then Kat just like, and is gone. And so I don't understand that. And she leaves like 2 little mushrooms where she was. And I think it was cool. Like specifically the 2 little mushrooms, because there's a fairy circle of mushrooms in the game that becomes the pit. And so it's kind of like cool to be like, wow, every single one of those mushrooms is a little girl that disappeared. But I also could be me reading into it. And I just felt like, and then, wait, I didn't even say this. And then Kat goes and gets poofed away. And it cuts back to the modern day. And Nora's there like, Kat she just disappeared. And I'm like, you don't want to. No, she doesn't even say Kat just disappeared. She goes, Kat, and then Kat just ... dot. And I was like, you don't want to say what Cat did? You don't want to explain that lore a little bit more, maybe? You don't want to define that in any way? And it's because Cat can fall into the pit. So like when when Corey gets pushed into the pit by Autumn, one of the other options is that Cat can get dragged into the pit with Corey when he falls. And so the game doesn't know which one you ended up with. So it just has to say, and then Cat dot dot dot, because this is so critical sounding, but it's not, because they didn't want to record different options of what could happen to Cat in that scene. And I watched some videos on the different endings. So it is possible that like there's an ending where Nora doesn't say like Cat just disappeared, or and then Cat fell into the pit with Corey, or and then Cat died of leukemia. Oh my gosh, I cannot make that joke. I am in fact an instigator. And so when a pit opens in the ground, you better know that I will approach that pit, and I will look into that pit, and I will make a wish into that pit. And so when nothing really happened of the wish that Swan made into the pit, I was like, are you sure about that? Are you sure that you didn't want that choice to mean more? And so the wish I made Swan pick was that she would be strong. She would overcome herself, and she would overcome her challenges. And I thought like it was gonna like give her super strength or something, because the other option was that she was gonna be free. And so you know that thing where it's like, would you rather have invisibility or flight? I thought it was like, would you rather have super strength or flight? And I picked strength because I felt like it was more in line with Swan's character. But maybe it was just me like reading into it a little bit more, or maybe it wasn't the game paying off on what it set up. But there wasn't really a moment where I felt like the wishes they made mattered. And I feel like there could have been more consequence, or could have been more reward for which you picked. And even there's a scene in which the girls as adults are playing pool. And I think Nora says, well, did you think our wishes came true? And it's kind of like left unanswered. And I didn't like that. If I was to play this game again, it would only be to make a couple little choices here and there. I feel like one difference I would make would be around Kat and her older sister Dylan. I think Dylan is slightly underused in this story. At the end of tape 1, there is this like emotional whiplash in which all the characters get reframed in really interesting ways. Kat goes from an angry child to a dying child. Corey goes from a one-sided bully to a character who suddenly cares about Kat. And Dylan goes from a snobby older sister to a caring older sister. It was a reverse that was breathtaking. They didn't really pay off on the end of tape 1's role reversals as much as I thought. Corey goes back to being just this one-sided douche, and Dylan remains underused. I feel like there was so much depth that could have existed with Dylan's character that just didn't get paid off well. There were scenes in which, like, that I missed, like, that I made decisions and I could have seen them. But it's just difficult because she's there in the final confrontation of the game and she doesn't do anything unless Dylan is there at the final confrontation of the game unless you make a specific set of choices and she and Kat together push Corey into the pit.
All fell in the pit, yeah.
In writing my script for this, I realized that me missing out on game points, what's that word? I don't know. Isn't a flaw of the game. It's actually an aspect that makes it replayable, like I'm making the decisions, and so I'm not always going to make the decision that ends with the best outcome, or I won't always make, like the concept of like a good versus evil playthrough. Like I will never play the evil playthrough because I never play games like that. And that's what makes them interesting. But I also am a people pleaser, and I wanted everyone to get their best ending. Speaking of Dylan, She's kind of a baddie. Like, you like hit me up or something. I don't know. Like, I heard you pushed your boyfriend into a pit and are single now. What else do I have to talk about? I have no idea what we've talked about so far. Did I talk about how I wanted to romance adult Nora? Did I talk about how Corey's kind of a hot boy? Did I talk about how I wanted more interactivity with the objects? Like there's the syrup bottle that I mentioned earlier. Like if you move it around, the liquid inside goes like that's such a gross noise. I hope it wasn't gross. Um, the liquid moves around, and I kind of wished that like there was a point in the game. Like I think there's like open liquids in the game. Like if you turn it over, like water falls out, and the character goes, "Whoa, shouldn't have done that." You know, like there's like just a little moment of a little bit more interactivity with these objects. But did I talk about how I cannot see the magic eye illusions? I tried so hard to see those freaking illusions, and I just could not do it. Like I got up, I walked towards my screen, I walked away from my screen. In the game, I pulled it further to me, I pulled it closer to me, like I tried everything, and I just couldn't see the illusions. It made me feel so stupid. Like I googled it, and apparently if you have like no depth perception, you can't see them. And so I'm going to claim that as my excuse because without my glasses on, I do actually have pretty bad depth perception. Like I have -4 vision. That is my prescription. -4. One time I talked to this guy and he was like, "So what's your prescription?" And I was like, -4. And he goes, "It goes into the negatives." -12 is legally blind. I am 1/3 of the way to legally blind. I am not going to rush through a second playthrough of this game just to see the other endings. I did watch some videos on the other ways the game could end, and there were endings that I liked more. Like, I would have loved if Nora was there with us in the end. But I didn't feel like I have any regrets. Like, there wasn't a decision where I'm like, oh man, I really regret saying that, or I wish I did that differently. Like, I've made my decisions and I'm going to live with it. I didn't love tape 1. I felt like the pacing was a little bit off, but I loved tape 2. Like I really enjoyed it. There were flaws. Like yeah, like I think the horror aspects could have been better. I think things, I don't know. I think I've said all the things that I think. I love rating things. So I'm going to rate this game. Maybe I should give like a fun announcer voice. I rate wait, maybe I don't know if I can do an announcer voice. This is the end of the video, so I faff about over here. Like there's no I have one sentence left in the script and I like drag it out as long as physically possible. I give Lost Records Bloom and Rage an 8 out of 10. Subject to change. I did not finish Assassin's Creed Shadows. I played probably 89% of the game and then decided I was done. Not because I didn't like it. Like I liked it. I enjoyed it. But there's a point in the game, like not in the game. Like there's just a point in games where I'm like, yeah, I feel like I got the experience. Like true story, I was like, I kind of want to start running. So I ran twice. The first time I ran, I was like, oh yeah, this is fun. And then the second time I ran, I was like, I feel like I got the experience of running and I'm fine actually. I like hiking. You know, I like other things. I've been playing Minecraft. I think I should just fade out. Like it just like event like you just see the screen slowly get darker and darker and darker. And then it's just that's me all done with. Thank you very much for sticking through me rambling. What do I have any more ramblings to say on this? Nope. Well, thank you, and I will see you again. Guys, I do not remember how my camera normally is, and this is actually really bothering me. I feel like it's too much door. Like, is it normally this much door?